How many of you remember that one singer, Gilbert O'Sullivan? You might not recollect the name, but maybe you might recall the song, perhaps for which he was the most famous. Yes, I thought that might ring a bell, especially when the sentiment rings true to so many of you, to so many of us. That song is featured on this album along with all of these other wonderful numbers. And hidden away on side 2, you have one in particular, Houdini Said. It's a beautiful musical abstraction, stream of consciousness and flow of thought. And within it you find a segment of lyrics which resonates very profoundly with myself and which might do the same for some of you. It's the segment from which the title of the song is derived. Houdini said to get out of bed was the hardest thing he could do. Yet, when he's tied, straitjacket plied, he's out at the count of 2. Now, what this means, of course, is that here you have Harry Houdini, master prestidigitator, magician extraordinaire, who indeed, with a childlike, simplistic ease, can get out of a straitjacket, can get out of shackles and manacles, can get out of an airtight container sealed and submerged in water, and yet, at the same time, finds it to be an almost impossibly insurmountable feat simply to get out of bed. Now, indeed, there are some of you for whom this probably doesn't make much sense. Blessed are you, for there are all too many of you for whom this makes all too much sense, because the import of these lyrics embodies something which you experience every single day of your lives. You go to bed, God willing, one hopes you sleep, and then, when the morning comes, you awake to find yourself faced with a prospect which is so terrifying that it leaves you almost paralyzed. You are faced with the prospect of engaging in another day in this world. And in order to do so, you're going to have to do something unthinkable, unimaginable. You are going to have to get up. You are going to have to get out of bed. You are going to have to do this when the one thing that you want to do above and beyond everything else is simply to pull those covers over your head and to will yourself back into the sweet oblivion and abandon of slumber, of sleep. But you know that you cannot do this. You know that you are going to have to get up. You are going to have to get out of bed, and you are going to have to face another day. And invariably you do. You do get up, you do get out of bed. And you come to find that the sky does not fall, and the world does not cease rotating on its axis. In fact, as good as it gets, business as usual, you come to find that everything more or less is fine. And you go through your paces, you go through your day, and eventually you go to bed. And God willing, one hopes you sleep. And then when the morning comes, and you in turn come fully to consciousness, you wake to find yourself faced with the prospect of doing it all over again, and again, and again. As I say, there are some for whom this is not a recognizable phenomenon. More power to you. For those of you all too familiar with the sustained anguish, with the indescribable dread of that interval in those waking moments, I have something to offer to you here and now today. It's not a cure. It's not even a panacea. It's a simple bit of methodology. In fact, if you will, it's something in the nature of a magic trick, an illusion, something which I believe you can utilize in order to combat, in order to alleviate that anxiety in that stretch of time. In fact, it very probably incorporates something which you might already do. How many of you use an alarm clock in order to get up in the morning? And in doing so, let's suppose you set that alarm clock for 6 o'clock in the morning. And inevitably, without variance, you find yourselves waking up at 5:59. You wake up before that alarm clock even goes off, before it unleashes that air raid siren to pierce your skull. You wake up and you turn it off. You turn it off before it goes off, thereby more or less defeating the purpose of an alarm clock, because you have your own internal clock, which is by and large a wonderful thing, save for the fact that it prolongs that window of time between your wakefulness and the inevitability of having to get out of bed. Prolongs it by seconds, by minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a small piece of eternity in which to worry and dread. What I submit to you is something, as I say, in the guise of a machination. And it involves something which by rights belongs to you anyway. This is, after all, your time. These seconds, these minutes, these hours, they belong to you. They are yours. They are yours to control. They are yours to measure however you see fit. And herein is the method which I submit. For starters, take your clock and set it ahead by 1 hour. Now, well, you may be thinking, what good does that do? I've set my clock to the incorrect time. What possible purpose could this serve? When you do this, and your clock comes to read 6 o'clock in the morning, and you wake up and you have that flash of anxiety, realizing that at 6 o'clock, you will then remember, no, it is not 6 o'clock, it is in fact 5 o'clock. And I do not have seconds or minutes, I have an entire extra hour that I bought myself before I have to face that prospect of getting up, getting out of bed. 1 extra hour in which to coast, to streamline, to relax, build up your confidence and your courage, possibly even to dream, return to a little bit more sleep. At this juncture, my own clock is set 3 hours ahead. When I roll over and I glance at the clock and I see that it seems to be 3 o'clock in the morning, and I have that flashpoint of fear, I then remember, it is not 3 o'clock in the morning, it is only 12, it is only midnight. When my clock reads 6, it's only 3. When my clock reads 9, it is only 6. I bought myself 3 extra hours in which to pass that time, leisurely, at my own preset pace. As I say, boys and girls, punks and skins, it is merely an illusion. It's just a magic trick. But it has done wonders for me. And if it in any way can help you, I will be eternally gratified, because anything which can be done to attenuate the anguish and anxiety of that waking period is worth the experiment, and God willing, the success. Remember, your time is just that, yours. And you can measure it any way you see fit, to your best advantage.